Welcome back to Season 6, Episode 1 of Pitt Tonight. Tonight's guest is a member of the Pitt community, serving as the president of the Student Government Board. Without further ado, let's hop on over to Zoom and talk to him now.
Hello, I'm the new host of Pitt Tonight, Victoria Traw, and I'm joined today by my lovely guest who needs absolutely no introduction. You've seen his face all over campus and you've heard his name so much more. The lovely Eric Macadangdang.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here, Eric. I'm very excited.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, so first off, just a quick little warm-up question for you. Just wondering, just immediate first thought that comes to your mind, who is your favorite board member currently sitting on board?
Ooh. Yikes.
It shouldn't be a hard question. I mean, just quick, whatever you were thinking.
My board members are like eventually how I'm going to view my children. I don't really have favorites, but, you know, Victoria, you hold a special place in my heart.
Oh, thank you. Yes, for those who don't know, I am currently a board member, so I do serve with Eric, who's the president. I'm flattered to think that I do hold a special place in your heart, but I agree. All board members are very special in their own way, so I wouldn't expect you to have an answer to that. But what I do expect you to have an answer to is tell people, how did you become involved with Student Government Board?
So it kind of started before I actually came to campus. In high school, I was involved in student council and the National Honor Society, and I knew I wanted to continue that sort of leadership into college. And so I attended the Student Activities Fair my first year, and I saw the Student Government Board table. I talked to some members, and I really became interested. And so I followed through, and I applied to what's called the First Year Council, which accepts only first-year students who show potential for campus leadership. And so I applied, and I fortunately got in. And, you know, a part of being on first-year council is you sit on a different committee within Student Government Board, and I got to sit on the Wellness Committee. Really enjoyed the work that committee had done, so much so that towards the end of my first year, I thought, wow, I might as well run or apply to be the chair of the committee. Did it. I was able to fortunately become chair. And so we're at the end of my sophomore year. Again, I felt like there was a lot of loose ends that I wanted to tie up. And so I thought the next logical step for me was to run for board. So I ran, I got on. And so now we're here to last semester or last fall even. And I had a lot of, you know, personal time with myself thinking about whether or not my time was done for Student Government Board or whether or not I should remain. And really, if I wanted to stay, the only real step up from being on board is actually running for president, which is a time commitment. It's practically a full-time job. But I really believed that there were issues on campus that I could help bring attention to and bring solutions to. And so here we are.
And for that, we are thankful. Yeah, we're definitely so happy to have you. One thing that you kept mentioning is you clearly had a lot of involvement with the Wellness Committee, you know, from being the chair, being the board member for it. So given the current situation, just with COVID, with everything on campus, how important do you think it is to have a conversation about mental health?
Well, extremely. And, you know, looking at the past 3 years of being on campus and being involved in mental health programming, I'm really proud to see how much we've progressed in terms of destigmatization, how willing we are now as students, as, you know, even staff and faculty are, to engage in conversations about mental health and its importance on the college level. And now we see the full stress of the world. We have literal crises compounded on top of one another. There's social isolation for months for those afflicted by the pandemic. There is the traumatization. There we go. I got that word right. From all the violence and brutality that we've seen on Black lives across this country. And so now more than ever, there is a strong need for a comprehensive support system from the university in terms of the services we're providing, but also from our peers and our students. I think if we all could come to the understanding that our mental health matters, both in ourselves and within our peers, then we could create the kind of atmosphere where we have support and proactivity rather than, these undue expectations that we're all supposed to keep on churning at the wheel without that acknowledgement that we all are humans and we all have those, inherent, not shortcomings, but, those mental tendencies that we have to tend to.
Absolutely. So well spoken, and it's so great that you're such a strong advocate for it. It's something that's so important, and you're clearly so passionate about it, which explains why you've had such a great involvement with it, and you've done so much for it. So thank you. Again, you're the SGB president. That is your role, but that's such a broad name. You want to go into what the SGB president does? I feel like so many people hear, president, and just, okay, cool. They manage things. They're the top boss. But what does that mean? What does that mean for you?
Yeah, so it basically means, for me, it's a jack of all trades, and some would say even a master of none type of job. But basically, I oversee all of the student government boards. So all of the members sort of report to me. I oversee the board and their activities, but I also oversee all of the committees and all of the services and programs that we give to students. I also stand as the student representative on multiple levels of shared governance. So faculty and staff and administration have their governing bodies to which I sit on. I also coordinate efforts with other student organizations within Pitt to create a strong network of student leaders, and also connect intercollegiately with universities outside of Pitt to create, again, a stronger network, find out what our best practices and how we could advance things for the university. But basically, Student Government Board in general is the governing body that represents, 18,000 plus students here on campus. And what I would like to say is I kind of try to make sure I acknowledge and I'm aware of all of the moving parts that entails in making sure that what's being done is done effectively, efficiently, and for the students ultimately.
Well, I mean, the Student Government Board president, that is probably the highest leadership position that a student can really hold on campus. So, I mean, you've had experience with that. What do you think makes someone a good leader?
I would say first and foremost is the ability to adapt and be flexible, and especially be empathetic. And I'm not just saying that because we are in a pandemic and, everyone is telling each other, be flexible, be adaptable to the situation. I would be saying this whether we were in a pandemic or not. But I truly believe that you have to be able to, turn on a moment's notice when things change. If you become too rigid in your position and your beliefs, you don't really stand a chance in the long run, because things change, people change, issues change, and you have to go along with the ride somewhat. And that goes along with being understanding and empathetic. There's sort of an expectation sometimes within our leaders to be, strong and lead with an iron fist, but that's not the way I roll, and that's not the way I think effective leadership really flourishes. You have to come in it with the understanding that I'm a human being and you are a human being, and the only way we could advance our shared goals is through understanding all of the flaws and the benefits of being such an organism. Other advice I'd say for being a good leader is to beware of long-term goal setting. And that's something I came to acknowledge as my time evolved within Student Government Board and within college in general. Is it's very tempting to create long-term goals. When you enter college, you have an idea of what degree you want to major in, what profession you want to go into after you graduate. And once you graduate, you think, what city do I want to reside in? And all these big questions and big things that, take a lot of headspace. But I'm an advocate for short-term goal management. I think that if you could go through the day-to-day and figure out what needs done now or in the short term, with a side of long-term visioning,
Yeah.
I think there's bound to be more effective results, because again, when you have a long-term vision, you create a tunnel vision,
Yeah.
and what that produces is the inability to really see that golden opportunity that's right in your periphery. And lastly, I spoke about this, but it's important to remember that even though you are a quote unquote leader, everyone around you is your co-equal. Uh, our dynamic here, I'm president and you are a board member, but you are equally capable of achieving great things. It's just I have a different title. And it's keeping that in mind, that if we work to empower one another and not reinforce these kind of perceived hierarchies, we'll make it much longer than the other way around.
What a lovely, lovely way to put that. I love that description. I was going to ask you, do you consider yourself to be a good leader?
I consider myself a work in progress. I tend to not want to give myself, oh, I'm good or I'm bad. I'm trying and I'm continuing to try. And, when the day is done, I think that's where a better judgment could be had.
Well, I certainly consider you to be a fantastic leader. So I know that you are a humble one, so I will let you believe what you believe, but I think that you're a fantastic leader. So I know that you were talking about how long-term goals can be, detrimental, give you tunnel vision, but along the lines of that, by the end of your term, when you're gone, what is something that you would like to see change either in SGB or within the Pitt community?
Well, this sort of ties into what I kind of ran on when I ran for president, is that for Student Government Board, I really want to elevate the organization to be what its sole purpose is, which is the representing body of undergraduate students here. So I want to make sure that our organization is accessible to all students to share concerns, ideas, or questions with, and share questions with, because we are only as good as the students that we are here to represent. And so if we have these gaps and holes between us as an organization and our constituency, which is all undergraduate students, we're not bound for success. And so it's constantly figuring out ways, whether it's programs and events, whether it's restructuring our organization itself, rethinking how we convey ourselves as a organization, to really make sure that students could come to us anytime and all the time. And along those lines, we could be much more effective, in my opinion, in how we are in the shared governance process. And so shared governance is, how each stakeholder of the university is represented. We have faculty shared governance, students and staff, and also the administration. And so there's a lot of stakeholders with a lot of different interests. And it's, in my opinion, a necessity to have a student voice represented in nearly every table or room that the university is conducting conversations in. And it's a difficult thing to constantly put pressure on the university, but I really, really think that students are one of the ultimate stakeholder groups here. We chose to come here for an education. We paid into the system. And so we have a strong right to help influence how this system works for us. And then in terms of the university as a whole, in terms of change, I would say that, what's most important now more than ever is meeting this moment. Whether it's the pandemic or our country's reckoning with our racist past and our racist present. So I hope for us to work towards solutions that are inclusive and that are just, and to create the foundations to really make these long-term solutions a reality. So that's recruitment and retention of Black students, that's fossil fuel divestment, that's continued testing and surveillance of this virus, and hopefully soon development of a vaccine. We did it once with polio, and I'm sure we could do it again with COVID-19. And so it's continuing to look to the horizon and pushing the university along with us.
Wow, fantastic answer, Eric, as always. So just a final question. You're clearly such a fantastic president. You care so much and you're doing so much. And it clearly comes from a great place. You care so much about SGB and the Pitt community as a whole. But what I want to know is, who is Eric aside from Eric, the SGB president? Tell me about Eric, the mask model, Eric, the chinchilla owner, Eric, the senior at Pitt. I feel like we never get to see that side of Eric. So just shed a light on something maybe people don't know or something you'd like to share.
Well, yes, you alluded to some of it. So yes, I'm a senior. I'm double majoring in urban studies and history and philosophy of science, which are two of the more unique majors within this university. I grew up just outside of Pittsburgh, and so I visited this campus a lot growing up. So I have deep roots and a deep appreciation for Pittsburgh, not just as the community to which Pitt is in, but as a community in itself where my peers and family are also a part of. I am a proud chinchilla owner, as you alluded to. I have about 10-year-old chinchilla named Tito. He's a lovely friend of mine. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of Eric outside of this SGB role. I've always been I've always been invested in the decision-making process. Growing up, I've always butted my head in to conversations that sometimes I shouldn't have been in. And so that eventually evolved to a more professional side of me where I thought, hey, I could really advance myself in terms of my extracurricular and co-curricular interests to put myself in these rooms that I always grew up imagining myself in. And so, yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
I'm very glad you got to share some of that, because again, I feel like we don't always get to see that side of Eric, even the sides that we do see are always fantastic. So again, I know you're an SGB. Do you have any plugs, anything you want to advertise or share while you're still on the call?
Sure. So obviously, Student Government Board is an organization that is open to all. There's different ways that you can get involved with us. One specific plug is applications are out for some of our open positions for first-year students. So if you're a first-year student watching this, apply. Applications are open until September 18th for positions within first-year council, allocations committee, and the diversity and inclusion committee. If you go into our website, sgb.pitt.edu, you could find the links for the applications there. I also encourage everyone to join myself and Victoria and a bunch of others every Tuesday night at 8:45 for our weekly public meeting where Student Government Board members share updates, and we also encourage students to join to ask questions, share ideas, or concerns that you think Student Government Board should be working on. And then finally, not a plug, but I talked about it at our first public meeting. Please continue to take care of yourself. There are folks here at the university who want to see you succeed and want to see you be supported. The University Counseling Center has virtual office hours that you could walk into during the semester, so please take advantage of that. And if there's anything at all that Student Government Board could help you with, please don't hesitate in reaching out to myself or any of the board, especially Victoria.
Especially Victoria. Thank you so much, Eric, for being here. You're just such a fantastic guest. I'm so happy you got to be our first one of the season. And yeah, everyone, please check out all the things Eric mentioned, of course, including public meeting. Thank you, Eric, for being here. And thank you, everyone, for watching the interview for the first episode.